Okay, back to this corner of the studio, and still continuing the conversation on effective ERGs, but taking a bit of a different angle, taking a perspective of ERG sponsor. And for that reason, I'm joined by Anna Lorch at UBS. Anya, I know it will be a conversation between the two of us. Hopefully, we will get a few questions from our online audience, so let's make a space for this as well. First of all, welcome. I just keep looking at the screens, but first of all, welcome and great to have you back in the conversation. How have you been today?
Hello, everybody. You can hear me well, right? Okay, very good, very good.
Very cool.
So welcome everybody again. This is a great pleasure to be yet another time a speaker to this fantastic conference. You know, the year gone by so quickly that it's already December, and here we go.
So true, and I'm really having same feeling. Yet different people, different conversations, different challenges to a great extent. Anya, I want us to focus on the importance of the role, the importance of a sponsor role in building effective ERGs and empowering ERGs, supporting ERGs. So I know that you have had extensive experience in that role, and I wonder how you understand this role, like you personally, and what are some key elements of the sponsor's role?
Yeah, so I was very happy to listen to the previous conversation and many others, obviously, but the previous one. And through that, it was about the leaders, but so many times the ladies were referring to a sponsor and the role of the sponsor. And indeed, this is equally important role as any other role in the setup of the ERGs. And it is important to say that a sponsor is a part of, it's not it's a part of, it's a team player. So I believe that it is true that the sponsor has a specific role to play, to maintain, and through the fact a person is a leader in the organization, and we can talk about who can be a sponsor maybe later. But this person really is a connector or a connection, translation, and the real evidence of a company strategy or intentions. I'm talking about the evidence because a sponsor of a ERG needs to be a person who understands the strategy well, the organizational strategy, and actually acts as a person who understands it and believes in that. It is so important that these elements are set within the sponsor. Now, then the sponsor, of course, is the person who conveys, who sets the tone from the top, but definitely supports the network. They are also the advocate of the network and the voice facilitating the network promotion and the visibility, obviously. It's also a catalyst of change or supports the change. It's also a person who conveys the message across the organization. But then I need to come back to my previous statement, is the leader, but also leads by example. A sponsor cannot pretend. A sponsor needs to be so true to their values, beliefs, and the strategy of the organization.
Absolutely makes sense. You've mentioned the role of a connector, catalyst, communicator, anything else or any other traits we should be looking into as we're considering a person to become a sponsor? So I'm really curious your perspective on that. What else? What else should we be looking at?
Well, the person needs to be really willing to work with the others, the colleagues across the organization, no matter what ranks the people are. It's a collaboration that requires the skill of communication, connecting, understanding, listening. But also, such a person requires to be a true advocate, a person that believes in the impact of the ESG. So again, it has to be transparent that the person supports and is the advertisement almost of the ESG. Also, what is important, the person needs to be in the organization a leader, one of the leaders of the organization. Why? To have an impact. A sponsor needs to have an impact in the organization, needs to be able to convey, to translate, to make a change if a network needs that. And there are so many cases where an ESG is trying to implement something, and we can talk about examples, which perhaps is absolutely new or maybe not understood by the organization. Because, we grow, we develop, we evolve. And the sponsor is the person who needs to stand for the objectives of the ESG and what they really want to achieve. So the impact is super important here.
And out of curiosity, Anya, how long have you been in a sponsor's role with your organization? What's your history?
Number of years. It is. Well, I suppose I didn't count. It's probably 8 years.
Okay.
Time flies, but the sponsorship roles did vary, right? But still, I think this is a never-ending story, I suppose. Once you start, you can't stop.
I believe so. And if I asked you, like, if you were to measure your own success and the level of impact as a sponsor, where would you be looking at, or what kind of measurements would you take? I wonder.
Yes, it is sometimes, we might feel awkward saying about measurement in the D&I environment. But it is important to understand what we can measure and to understand that we can measure. It's not about the KPIs only, right? It is about the impact and how do we measure the impact, right? So firstly, I truly believe that the organization, D&I organization, because this is an organization, needs to be properly set up. If this is done in a correct way, in a professional way, then we can think about the others. So I'll start with the setup first, and then we'll be talking about additional measurements. So firstly, to be a sponsor, we need to have an organization. So understanding the governance, right? So there is a sponsor, there is the management board who hears the D&I objectives, needs, and follows that or sets that.
Yeah, you need to know the machine.
Exactly. So the governance needs to be set up because we need to understand who is doing what, who can do what, who is responsible for what. So the governance first, budget. The previous group also was talking about the budget. Yes, it's money. The more the better. But anyways, money. And then objectives. What do we want to do?
But Anya, would you
Is
say
there
that
anything?
would you say that the larger the money, the greater the impact? How is it correlated? I know that this is a sensitive subject, but how does it work in practice?
Yes, I have never experienced large money in D&I, but obviously, absolutely, we need, for example, we need experts to support us, to educate us. And even though I represent an organization which is quite a large one, almost 9,000 people right now, of UBS, but still, we need experts for specific themes which may not and definitely will not be found in the organization. So, for example, we need to purchase that, right? The knowledge, right? The expert, the educator. And this is where the money goes, right? Or we need to equip our office specific equipment which might serve or which is needed for people with disabilities, etc. etc. requires money. This is not about, only celebrating being super happy with everything and whatever. It's about the real cost of education, knowledge, equipment. This is what we need, right?
Yeah. So if the expectation is the delivery and you would expect a sponsor and a ERG leader to deliver to their best, you need to invest.
Absolutely. Nothing comes without money. We can do a lot in an internal way with our own knowledge, with our own time, but there are elements which need investment. The other thing is objectives. So I said about 3 already: governance, budget, objectives. And the objectives need to correlate with what we do in the network. Let's talk about the objectives of, for example, gender, right? Ethnicity, etc., etc. We need to understand what we want to achieve. So these are the 3 elements. Then later, if we talk about the sponsor, I would, or the measurement of the sponsor's impact, I would say that we need to observe what is the impact of the ESG. So, is it relevant? Does it answer the needs of the employees? Is the, again, budget realized, right? So did we plan according what we want, right? We can also look at the employees' participation in the networks. We can see how visible the ESG is in the organization. For example, the town halls, newsletters, all of that can be used as the measurement of the success of the sponsor, of course ESG, but then the sponsor as well.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. You need to create a channel, you need to position it in a balanced way, so it's not just formation and a successful delivery of the group. They need to be present and PR'd in the organization throughout different channels. Anya, last minutes, I'd like us to focus on the effective relationship or mutual relationship between ERG leader and a sponsor. What would be some of the key recommendations from your side? How to keep it healthy, how to keep it effective for both parties involved?
Primary, understand your roles. And then, of course, the governance comes back as a topic. Understand the roles, right? Leader, sponsor, right? And the team itself. But for the sponsor themselves, I would recommend to simply trust your team, do not impose, but assist. B, for the team, that is, prioritize your life in the organization in such a way that you are for the team, not only for your daily business, because your engagement matters.
Yeah, people need to feel it, right? And they will or they won't. It's as simple as that.
Yes.
And for the ERG leader, how to make this collaboration most effective?
Well, for the leader with the sponsor, you mean, right?
Yes.
It's again, I would say firstly, understand the roles, and then simply speak with connect with the sponsor and agree what are the key roles, key tasks, or key responsibilities, and simply collaborate closely. Definitely meet. Definitely be in touch. Be where we need sponsor or a leader, or leaders need sponsor, or vice versa. Feel the relationship, because that engagement is super unique. That engagement is not paid one. This is based on understanding and mutual collaboration, and there are variety of people. We are all different, right? So the moment the two understand the way want to work and collaborate, the moment the success starts.
I totally agree. Anya, I hope that you're as joyful as I am when I tell you that we have a question from the audience. In fact, 2 questions, but probably we will have time just for one. And I want to ask this question to you directly. So we talked about the importance of roles, and the question is actually about the importance of mutual expectations. So how to establish mutual expectations with ERG leaders to ensure a shared vision and alignment of goals. So how to establish expectations to ensure aligned direction.
So the aligned direction needs to be aligned with the strategy, right? I think this is also a super role of a sponsor and also a leader, that we cannot deviate too much from what the organization sets as an objective of D&I. And to what a colleague of mine just said before me, it is important that we think globally, but act locally. I know it's a slogan, but we need to understand the specifics of where we are in terms of the culture, in terms of the maturity of society, maybe employees, and translate what the global organization wants or sets into our needs. And then if this is a match, when it is a match, then we can deliver. Otherwise, we shall pretend that we do something, but the objective, which is super global, may not set the expectation, local expectation. And then there is a disaster, because nobody wants to attend or engage in such activities.
Such a mismatch.
And it's just simply waste of time.
Very well said, very true, absolutely true. Anya, if you have time, if you're available, I would welcome you to stay with us and hopefully address some additional questions via chat. But I want to thank you so much for this conversation and for providing lots of examples and authentic examples. So I hope a lot of members in our audience benefited from our short conversation, always too short. But thank you so much again.
Thank
for
you so
joining
much.
us.
Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Thank you so much. Thank
Bye-bye.
you. Bye-bye.